Amy, I have an itch and it is for a spicy dark romance and I need one bad.
I have the book for you. It is A Reign of Shadows and Endings by Melissa K. Rorick. It was an instant New York Times bestseller. It was a huge indie hit on Book Talk, and I think it is right up your alley.
It seriously has some of my favorite tropes, like shifters, vampires, witches. You know how I feel about vampires. There can never be enough. It has the best morally gray characters, fated mates, meddling gods, forced proximity, touch her and die. One bed, one horse, he falls first. Enemies with benefits.
I love enemies with benefits. Don't tell me your feelings at all. Just ravage me, please.
I need to read this immediately.
I love that there's even LGBTQ rep. The series overall features romantic relationships like MFM polyamory, MM, and FM. Give it all to me.
You know how I love to feel devastated by reading a book? A Reign of Shadows and Endings is it.
And if you're like Jack and I and you love special editions, there is a gorgeous deluxe version with stenciled edges, foil details, and full color character arc from Kensington Publishing.
It is, in fact, in my heart currently.
We're so excited to read it, and you can too. You can find A Reign of Shadows and Endings by Melissa K. Rorick wherever books are sold in print and in ebook.
You can also find Melissa online at her website, melissakRorick.com, at Melissa_K_Rorick on Instagram, and at author Melissa K. Rorick on TikTok. That's ROEHRIC.
Insurance isn't a one-size-fits-all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy. Or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple for you to see your options. No guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit Progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Expedia and Visit Scotland invite you to come step into centuries of history that await in Scotland. Castles steeped in legend walk along cobblestone streets. Come share the warmth of stories passed down through generations. This is a place with a past that is fully present today and all yours to explore. Plan your Scottish escape today at expedia.com/Visit Scotland.
At the Court of Nightmares Winter Solstice Ball, Nesta stuns the room, and Cassian when she dances with Eris, wielding her beauty and skill as weapons in service of the Night Court's political game. Back at the River House, Nesta navigates her first real solstice with the Inner Circle, and Cassian's gift cracks her open, prompting her to finally tell him the truth of her feelings. Feelings he echoes in his actions. In the weeks that follow, Nesta settles into a contented routine of training, singing, climbing the stairs, and choosing to live her life. But when Cassian confronts her about their mating bond, Nesta fractures under the weight of what it means to lose that last thread of her humanity. Calling in their bargain, she sends him away, finds her footing with her friends at Emery's cottage, only for the blood rite to begin and the Illyrians to steal the Valkyries in training away.
Hey there, we're Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, your book besties who take the novels you love seriously. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and we bring the tools of literary analysis to the women-written novels lighting up Book Talk, from romance to romantasy. Think of it as your favorite fandom books, treated with the same respect you'd give a classic in a literature class, just with more humor and less homework for you.
So much homework in this episode. Each season, we deep dive into one book, breaking down themes, imagery, and character motivations. Together, we combine our 13 years of literary academic training with our fandom love to help you see your favorite books in a whole new way. We also analyze the story through 2 different literary lenses, giving you more than one way to look at the text.
This week, we're discussing Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Silver Flames, the most divisive book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. In this episode, we cover chapters 57 through 63.
For a complete list of episodes and chapter breakdowns, be sure to check out our Instagram at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk.
Before we dive in, let's talk about Spilt. Spoilers, perspective and interpretation, language, and themes.
Spoilers. This episode covers A Court of Silver Flames with full context from the preceding books in the ACOTAR series. That's Thorns and Roses, Mist and Fury, Wings and Ruin, Frost and Starlight. And all of Silver Flames. If you haven't read those, this is your only spoiler warning. Anything in the SJM's other series will be saved for our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks episode that airs this Wednesday. Every once in a while, someone on Spotify will leave a comment in past seasons going, "Oh, you spoiled it." And it's not a read-along. It's not a read-along.
It's not a read-along. Perspective and interpretation. These are just our takes, our personal readings of the text. We don't speak for Sarah J. Maas, and we know you'll have your own interpretations too. We'd love to hear them, so share away.
Language. We use explicit language. We can't help ourselves. Sometimes we'll even use our hands. You can't see it, but we're flipping off the camera. I mean, I am. Amy didn't participate, but
I did not.
Keep your headphones on and the kids away.
Themes. We also discuss tough topics like sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death. We do our best to flag heavier moments where we can, but listener discretion is advised.
As always, let's keep the conversation going. DM us, tag us, or use the submission form on our website. And if you want exclusive content and live streams, you'll find us over at patreon.com/booktalkforbooktalk.
Can't get enough of analysis? Make sure to check out the Subtext Society Journal, where we write think pieces discussing the romance and romantasy genres as a whole, the ongoing conversations in the bookish community, and insights into the publishing world. Join us over at the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com.
Each week we ask ourselves a question. Is accepting their love and their mating bond an act of courage or the loss of control for Cassian and Nesta?
Themes we see in this section include identity and transformation, as well as chosen family.
You guys, this is a long-ass episode. It's hefty as hell, so get your water. We're going to be taking sips. And there better be some good clips because I look cute today, so I want the video content.
Before we begin, let's take a sip because just the first chapter alone is like a third of the episode.
Oh, God. It's 4:30 and I'm drinking tea. And if anyone knows me, which in theory you guys do, but Amy does, this is way too late for me to be drinking caffeine, especially since I'm leaving to Disneyland tomorrow at 6 a.m., probably 5:50. But
why are you drinking tea?
Because it's a long episode and I want to be awake and alive. I'll take melatonin. Drugs will keep me going.
Okay. That's the message of today.
We start chapter 57 with winter solstice celebrations at the Court of Nightmares, and Cassian is in his own nightmare. Quote, he had a month to prepare for this. A month of being in Nesta's bed, or at least fucking her in it. The cauldron knew she'd never asked him to stay after he pulled out of her. He's so insecure, but also remember, Nesta really hurt his feelings the year before, and now that they're hooking up, it's only giving her more power to hurt him. And remember, at the very beginning of this whole season, we talked about their emotional arcs. And for Cassian, his emotional arc is about finding security in Nesta, but also finding security in himself too.
It's also important to remember in just a previous chapter / last week's episode, we got this same insecurity from Nesta's point of view. He never stays and cuddles with her, and he always leaves really quick before she can work up the nerve to ask. So there's some mirroring happening here. It's just divided by our 2 episodes.
It's also a miscommunication trope.
Yeah, but believable.
It is. Hate to see it, but believable. You guys just be needy. It's fine.
Now, we saw this in Mist and Fury, but since that season was years ago, it's worth calling out again. Quote, the twin banquet tables flanking either side of the massive space overflowed with food, but it was forbidden to all until Feyre and Rhys allowed it. There is power in controlling what others can eat. We've seen it a lot in earlier seasons in the ACOTAR series, and Feyre and Rhys show their dominance through that control of the Court of Nightmares food at this celebration. The court members are being allowed to eat, and being allowed to eat is a privilege, which in a way makes them beggars and reaffirms their subservientness to Feyre and Rhys.
It is messy because even though we're told like these guys are just evil, it's called a Court of Nightmares. They did horrible things to Mor. Question, how many of them did horrible things to Mor? Was it every single person in the court? Are there no other Mors in this court that, they're just kind of innocent bystanders too?
Yeah.
It's just like they're not perfect.
Yes.
Rhys and Feyre. Okay.
Yeah, just like I can't imagine everybody in Velaris is good.
I know, right? Okay, so we see all three sisters and how they're all dressed for this official outing. First is Feyre, quote, she wore a dress of sparkling black panels, much like the one she'd first worn here, and it did nothing to hide her swelling belly. No, it showed off her pregnant womb, gleaming in the candlelight. Rhys's face was a portrait of smug male pride. This is a double whammy here. I love this description because I feel like it's doing something about celebrating Feyre's fertility and sexuality and combining the two. We don't really connect pregnant women with sexuality, which is a shame because women can be sexual whenever the fuck they want to be sexual. And I think that there is beauty to pregnancy. And how do you think they became pregnant to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
I also love the concept of Rhys having this smug male pride. I'm not going to shade him for that. Anytime they can find happiness with this baby, I just want them to have it because this isn't a fun, peaceful pregnancy for them. I want to continue looking at how Feyre is described. Quote, Feyre might as well have been a goddess of old, crowned and glowing, her belly swollen with life. Her serene face was lovely, and her full red lips parted in a smile at Rhys as they aimed for their thrones. Again, motherhood is to be celebrated. It's giving life. It's giving goddess. It kind of reminds me of the goddess that Nesta saw earlier with, big boobs holding the moon in between her hands. Yeah, it's just kind of interesting of associating Feyre with a goddess. Now, let's talk about Elaine's dress and how she's described. And you guys, something historic is happening. I have sympathy for Elaine. Quote, Elaine in black was ridiculous. Yes, she was beautiful, but the color of her long-sleeved modest gown leached the brightness from her face. It wore her rather than the other way around. Also, Cassian delivering these lines, like what a little fashion icon. That dress really wore her rather than her wearing the dress. Wow. I don't doubt him, but like catty little queen here. But why is this the first time that I'm actually having sympathy for Elaine? It's really sad that she's described as being ridiculous for wearing black. And it's sad because that means she can't claim this side of identity, this side of dark and dangerous. And I think that's a side that every person should embrace one way or of another. I'm not saying we all join a biker gang, but I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? Like there's like this concept of dark feminine energy that I think we should all be able to tap into in whatever degree that is. And Elaine's being denied that in a way.
Yeah. And it's because an image has been crafted for her. And she's been kept in that box without being allowed to deviate. And if she does deviate, she's not taken, quote unquote, seriously. And I think it speaks to this idea that we've talked about before that she might be underestimated by everybody else or not truly seen. It could mean this place is ill-fitted to her, but it could also foreshadow maybe a story where she has to embrace her darkness just the way that Nesta has had to embrace her darkness. Or at least showing that she can balance both dark and light.
Yeah, I actually have more sympathy for her later this episode. I don't know what was going on with me, but I was too kind. Elaine is once again being held back. Quote, when Feyre had offered to let her remain home, Elaine had squared her shoulders and declared that she was part of this court and would do whatever she needed. So Elaine had let her golden brown hair down tonight and pinned it back with twin combs of pearl. I love to see a hint of personality. We'll take what we can get with when it comes to Elaine. But she was offered a chance of being left at home alone, and Elaine is having to fight for her place in court, and Nesta is arguably going to be quote unquote allowed into this court sooner than Elaine. Even though Elaine is welcomed or accepted by them, she's not welcomed by them to go and participate in these larger meetings. How many meetings have we seen Nesta be in this book so far, right? And Elaine just keeps gardening. Another concept that I love about this description of her jewelry is that she's wearing pearls, and pearls is one of the weakest type of jewelry. It's really soft, it's easy to scratch, it's very easy to break. That's why they say don't have pearls for an engagement ring or any kind of ring you wear daily.
It's interesting because that's one way to view pearls. You can also view pearls as being made under pressure.
By spit.
By a piece of dirt getting in a clam.
I think when you do the concept of like a piece of jewelry that's formed under pressure, I think a diamond is like the first one to really come into. I think of excrement.
Fair. You also have to like pry open the clam.
So you have to cause animal cruelty.
I don't know. I mean, I think there is yes, it's very soft and weak. I think it could have double meaning. I think it could also mean you have to work for it. And we're going to have to work to get Elaine's personality in the future.
we're going to have to pry it open to figure her out, but because God, we're getting nothing. Okay, we're going to keep going with this description of Elaine. I've had so much to say about her. Quote, he never once in the 2 years he'd known her found Elaine to be plain, but wearing black, no matter how much she claimed to be part of this court, it sucked the life from her. No matter how much she claimed to be part of this court, not how much she is a part of this court, claimed to be a part of this court. She has not had the welcome that Nesta will get at the end of this book, or at the end of this episode, she's going to get the welcome. And Elaine is just a person who's living in her sister's house. She is not a part of this court. She can't wear the court colors, which is black, which is a shame because everyone can wear black.
Everyone can wear black.
There's different shades.
I mean, I can see this as set up for her marrying Lucian and living in the day court and blah, blah, blah. I really hope that we get more than that from Elaine.
I actually see this as set up for Dark Elaine.
Yes, but I also recognize I want Dark Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
I want Dark Elaine, but I can also see how it could not be about Dark Elaine. And I could be very disappointed.
They are doing some setup of showing that she doesn't belong in this court. I mean, even with Nesta saying like she would do great in the spring court, or, you know, she doesn't match this court. She doesn't fit in. Like, it is also set up to she moves off with Lucian or someone else to another court.
I really hope not.
I mean, and it's also, I'm going to be even more obnoxious. So I'm going to be saying things throughout the whole episode talking about how Azriel, Gwen, and Elaine and how they work and don't work. But this is actually coming from a place of literary analysis, not from a place of pettiness. So I'll flag it when it is petty, don't worry. But, you know, just the fact that it keeps saying like she doesn't work with darkness, she doesn't work with black, with the night court, and it has nothing to do with being light, because we're going to get Gwen who's light and works well with as is shadows, but just flagging that. Nesta, on the other hand, in quote night court black, is going to quote bring Cassian to his knees. More quote. She braided her hair over her head in her usual style, but atop it, a delicate tiara of glinting black stone rested, slendered spikes jutting upward in a dark corona. Each spike was topped with a tiny sapphire, as if the spikes were so sharp they pierced the sky and drawn cobalt blood. And the dress, silver thread embroidered the skin-tight velvet bodice, the straps so narrow they might as well have been nothing against her moon-white skin. The neckline plunged nearly to her navel, where the silver thread gathered to hold a small sapphire that matched the ones atop her crown. The full skirts brushed the dark floor, rustling in the rippling silence. At first, I was wondering, like, why sapphires? Like, I would think red, you know, kind of to match Cassian's siphons. But then I was like, okay, I think that's more of the literary analysis or like the poetic of like, let's have her match him. But right now they're trying to distance herself from Cassian, trying not to make it seem like they're sleeping with each other every single night and day and morning. So let's move around and move away. And although blue is associated with Azriel's siphons, it also reminds me a bit of Rhys too. And we've already talked about how Nesta and Rhys are connected, so I can also see this kind of being a match to him as well. And just the fact that Nesta's crown is so sharp that it pierces the sky itself to make it bleed, that's so exciting. I love it. And also, her dress is so much more revealing than I remembered it. Like, I remembered, I think, Wings and Ruin Nesta, where she was like in a
sleeves and a high collar.
And high neck, yeah. And this time it's like, oh, get it, girl.
She came to kill.
Yeah.
I also thought about, cobalt blood is blue blood, and what is blue blood, if not royal blood?
Mm-hmm.
And who's Nesta guilty of killing? Royals?
Yeah.
So I also thought it might be a stretch, but I thought that was a nice little string.
I love it.
There's also another moment that I felt like made Nesta mirror Rhys, and that's when Cassian observes, quote, Nesta seemed to glow with the attention, owned it, commanded it. She's like a queen. That's what he sees. And her owning the attention, commanding the attention, that is very much like Rhys.
Yep, very much so. Cassian is struggling, just watching her and being like, oh, Eris is going to like her and want to dance with her. But he's got his own claim on Nesta. Quote, he didn't dare look at Eris either. One glance and it'd give away their entire game, even her scent. His scent, Cassian knew with no small amount of satisfaction, had been carefully glamored to hide any trace of him. So yes, this is a sign of ownership, of claiming the fact that his scent is all over her and that it needs to be glamored. And, it's very animalistic of like, I peed on her and you can't, and that's mine. That's my fire hydrant. And I could look into it, but I also think it's really kind of like, I don't know, you have to give Cassian a little break here.
Yeah, I think it's also meant to be a breadcrumb for their mating, because don't their scents merge after they do the deed?
I mean, it's funny because later on, they have their mating bond sex and stuff, and they've accepted it mostly. 2 months go by and everyone probably smells it and no one can say anything about it.
Yeah, Cassian's probably been like, keep it down, guys.
Guys, shut up. Shut up.
Now, as Cassian watches Nesta, she comes across so regal, and he, in comparison, feels like a beast. Quote, Cassian in his black armor felt more like the beasts carved into the towering pillars beneath this mountain. I think watching Nesta, especially with Eris present, is bringing out Cassian's feelings of inferiority. And the fact that Eris looks nicely done up in his expensive night court clothes, and Nesta's about to woo him, yeah, it irks him. But it does tickle me that Feyre is still a badass with her little glowing womb on display, telling the court what to do, and that motherhood doesn't make her weak. Quote, Feyre commanded the crowd, her voice like thunder at midnight. Dance. It's just a nice little full circle moment.
Her voice was like thunder at midnight, and your voice, dance.
Dance. I didn't want to yell. Dance.
Dance. Yeah, that's about right. Dance for me. We would not be very good at this. We could either crush it or start giggling. We couldn't be together in the same scene. We'd have to rule 2 different night courts. We would just be giggling
it's true.
the whole time.
Yeah.
I love moments when we see how Cassian isn't as observant or able to think strategically. And this chapter provides some great examples of this, especially when Rhys gives Eris Nesta's made blade. Quote, Cassian kept his face blank. Rhys had gotten this bastard a gift? This is when, so Rhys goes, I've got you a present. And then Cassian's like, you got him a present? How dare you? And this is a great example of the fact that Cassian has a very narrow understanding to what's going on. And I'm not calling him stupid. I'm calling him in his own head. And he is not a narrator that can be trusted. No narrators can be trusted. But Baby Boy is very narrow in his thinking. And it gets him frustrated and gets upset with his own head. But anyone else might be thinking that hey, what's going on here? What's Rhys going to give Eris? There's many thoughts to be had. Meanwhile, Cassian is just no, I want a present, Daddy.
Yeah, he already gets to dance with the girl.
Yeah, Papa.
While Rhys is giving away this present, which happens to be Nesta's made dagger, Cassian notices that Nesta isn't even paying attention. Quote, maybe music meant more to her than the dagger, more than magic and power. And I like to think this is when he gets the idea for what her solstice gift will be. Also, it's signaling his attention is more on Nesta than anything else, not on what is the political move Rhys is about to make. But also, he's starting to understand her in a way he has not understood her before. When Eris and Nesta start dancing, everyone is in shock at Nesta's level of skill, and even Cassian thinks that Elaine downplayed just how well Nesta dances. Quote, the sheer skill and grace, each movement of her body precisely tuned to each note and flutter of music, from her fingertips to the extension of her neck as she turned, the arch of her back into a held note. This is the level of precision Nesta attempts, like, for everything in her life. She is a stereotypical eldest daughter perfectionist. And I can say that because I'm also one of them. This is the level of control that she tries to exert over her own feelings toward Cassian. But as we're going to see, while this dance progresses, Nesta gets lost in the music, just like Nesta's going to get lost in Cassian. And it's emphasized when she repeatedly will compare him and their connection to music, because he moves her just as much as the music of this waltz is currently moving her. And it's just so beautiful.
This is some fantastic setup because we're seeing how much Nesta loves music. And then she compares their mating bond moment to music. And, you know, there's this line here that if you're a reader at this point and you haven't put together how much Nesta loves music, SJM is really going to hone it in for you. Quote, there wasn't enough space inside her for the sound, for all it made her feel. Not enough space in her mind, her heart, her body. And all she could do to honor it, worship it, was dance. How is that not any different than her feelings for Cassian? Like, she's going to say something very similar later about how she feels for him. But really, music is her place of worship. We know she goes to the priestess's nightly service for the music, and it's her way to commune with her own inner peace.
And I think it's important, and what I wrote down as I was reading this is Nesta is not a words person. Yes, she uses words as weapons, but she doesn't use words to honor anything good. She uses action, just like Cassian, to show the positive feelings that she feels.
Good point. Words are weapons for her. Wow, good job, baby.
Thank you. Now, the makeup Nesta is wearing, more than her dress, disguises Nesta and maybe who she was in a way that liberates her in this moment. Quote, she had never worn such a color on her mouth. It looked like sin personified. And when Nesta had looked in the mirror at last, she'd seen a queen of the night, as merciless and cold and beautiful as the god Lanthus had wanted to make her. Death's consort, death herself. I think that human Nesta would never wear red lipstick because it is sin personified. But Fae Nesta is reveling in this color, in being this queen of the night. And it's really her embracing herself, her inner darkness, just like she just embraced the heart of the house and its darkness. And I think we're going to see a lot of parallels between Nesta dancing and the house, just planting that seed. Cassian and the rest of the court watch Nesta make the final turns of the first waltz, and they see her power in her skill and control. Quote, to spin was to risk looking the fool at best, to eat marble at worst. Nesta went for it, and the entire room straightened, eyes upon Nesta. Upon Nesta, this once human female who had conquered death, who now glowed as if she had devoured the moon too. I love this idea of devouring the moon. It's such a powerful image. And the fact that she embodies the Queen of Night and is devouring the moon, has power over the moon, just re-emphasizes her power over the court in this moment. She's controlling their attention. And just to emphasize that, yeah, Eris is there, but Nesta's the one in control. Quote, Cassian knew that Eris turned her arm, but her feet held her, propelled them. It was she who led this dance. And that's just a nice little metaphor for the wooing that is happening right now. Like, Eris isn't the one in control. Rhys isn't the one in control. It's Nesta. As we've alluded to, music is really important to Nesta, and I love what this dance represents for her and her journey. Quote, and as Nesta spun solo on the toes of one perfect foot, she smiled. Not a courtier's slick smile, not a coy one, but one of pure, wild joy brought by the music and the dance and her wholehearted yield to it. It was like seeing someone being born, like seeing someone come alive. It was a mistake to bring her here, to dangle her before Eris, the world, emerging from her cocoon of grief and rage. This new Nesta might very well send entire courts to their knees, kingdoms. It's a nice little cherry on top for me that Nesta has gone through this metamorphosis like a death moth emerging from a cocoon. Ha ha ha. I think I'm so funny. And she's been able to find a way to tap back into joy and into life. And that joy and life has made her powerful and as powerful as any other weapon. And not only that, right now, yes, she's having fun. She's enjoying herself. But it's all in the name of a task that's been entrusted to her, that the inner circle is depending upon her to succeed in, and she is succeeding. And I find that must also be pretty liberating for her. I would find it pretty liberating because she's not failing, and all she's known is how to fail with the inner circle. And then my last note about this dance is that when we're back in Nesta's point of view, she thinks that, quote, music had been a song in her blood, which is the same language she uses when she describes the power of the mask, but this time the power of the music is one she commands.
Nesta and Eris are dancing, and she is manipulating him perfectly, and he sucks at compliments. Quote, "They say your sister Elaine is the beauty, but you outshine her tonight." His hand stroked down her bare skin on her back, and she arched slightly into the touch. Nesta made her throat bob, let a hint of color rise to her cheeks.
Only tonight?
I know.
You outshine her tonight. Only tonight.
Only tonight? I mean, Nesta's better than me. The fact that she remembered to play her part, it would be like, excuse me? Excuse me. If you have to bring in any other person into a compliment, you don't know how to do a compliment. That's why you're not like other girls is one of the worst things I've ever heard. I love, though, that Nesta is using, quote unquote, shy girl tactics, right? Like this really demure, like, oh, my throat's bobbing and I'm blushing. And she's making her body react in these ways.
And it's a sort of power that she's leaning into, right? This femininity, even though it's feigned femininity on her part. And I say feigned because it's not her brand of femininity, right? It's Elaine's brand of femininity.
Yeah.
And it's nice that she can wield that too.
Was this my brand of femininity when I was talking to the hot guy at the gym today?
Nope.
Mine was just uncomfortable, nausea looking. Yeah. I don't think the look of constipation is going to win a man over.
Yeah, I think that I have thoughts, and I'm not going to say them on the podcast.
All right, thank you. We'll save that for dinner then.
Yeah, it's a dinner thought for sure.
I'm nervous about it.
No, it's not a bad thing.
Let's keep going.
Now, Cassian at this point cuts in to Nesta and Eris's dances because they just keep going. And I love how protective Nesta gets because Eris goes off on him. Quote, Eris looked down his straight nose at Cassian. I don't take orders from brutes. Eris bared his teeth at Cassian. Go sit at your master's feet, dog. It took all her concentration, every moment of mind stealing, to keep from ripping out Eris's throat. But Nesta shoved down her fury to the place where she stifled her power. Even though, once upon a time, Nesta treated Cassian this way, aka the start of this novel, she will not tolerate anyone treating Cassian this way anymore. And it's also a nice, again, breadcrumb because she so violently wants to defend Cassian.
Yeah, it is nice because even as I was reading it, having already read this book a bunch of times, I was like, no, Nesta, don't get mad at Cassian. And, she's still like, okay, I'll dance with you.
Yeah.
Like any good High Lord, we have responsibilities. A quick break.
In my day job, one of the things I'm always looking for is how to relax once I get home.
I really struggle with how to relax because I'm not a drink a glass of wine every single night type of person, but I do need something. And Lumi Gummies has been an absolute lifesaver for helping me relax and honestly, not getting stoned.
Consistent, mellow, and super delicious, Lumi Gummies are specifically designed to make you feel good, not stoned.
Whether you're looking for an end-of-day de-stressor, a midday mood boost, or help getting the best sleep ever, Lumi Gummies has a strain that's right for you. They also come in 1 milligram or 5 milligram gummies, so you can get the exact dose you're looking for. I work out 5 times a week, and when I tell you I really struggle to relax, it's very true, and I need something to help me just decompress when my muscles are straining.
You should try Lumi Gummies Plumberry Runts. Just 1 5 milligram gummy an hour before bed, and this indica treat sends you straight to Dreamsville.
Lumi gummies are available nationwide. Go to lumigummies.com. That's LUMI gummies.com and use code BookTalk for 30% off your order.
Again, that's LUMI gummies.com, code BookTalk, BOOKTALK. Lumigummies.com, code BookTalk.
We had Cassian be surprised and angry that Rhys and Feyre gave away Nesta's made blade as a gift. Nesta, though, sees the importance of it. Quote, Feyre in Rhysand had given Eris one of her blades just to ensure his continued alliance. She wouldn't jeopardize it. Nesta understands the importance of what's going on in this court and the moves that are being made. And she understands that giving the blade shows how much they need him. And Nesta has understood the game. Even in her darkest moments, she gets the game. And they need her to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, is sad because they actively do not use Elaine to play the game.
Nope. When has Elaine made a blade or a trove? Never. When has Elaine ever scryed? Never.
Yeah. Roasted.
But did anyone ever follow through on their request of her to scry?
No. They can't even ask her to dance with someone.
Yeah. I have to give Elaine credit. This is not part of my notes, but at least she pretended to look interested in dancing with Eris when Feyre was like, which of my sisters shall you dance with? Like, Elaine tried.
Was it described as interested or was she described as like, nervous?
I mean, she's feigning interest.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm trying to remember. I thought I read that moment of her being like, grossed out almost, like even though she was faking it, but I trust your memory more than me.
I mean, either way, she tried.
Yeah.
She didn't have to try. She didn't have to be there. All right.
Elaine.
Although Nesta starts out super annoyed with Cassian's interruption, she notices how nervous he is, and she just goes, okay, I'm sorry. Quote, he was nervous. This male, who had faced down enemy armies, who had battled to the brink of death more times than she cared to count, who had fought so many dangers it was a miracle he lived, he was nervous. I just think it's adorable because she sees his vulnerability, and then she melts for him because also, ultimately, she doesn't want to hurt him. And so if he's nervous, she knows if she says no, even if it's the right thing to do, he's going to be butthurt. And so she's like, okay, I won't do that to you.
She sees the power she has over him. You know, before it was like something that she identified and knew she could wield, right? And use against him. And now it's like, I actually need to be so conscious and careful of this.
Yeah.
And I think we give people who are nervous a break. Sometimes people are nervous. I'm not asking you to give me a break. I want you to break me, tell me everything later. But Cassian cuts in and he and Nesta are dancing. Quote, Cassian smiled at her and the world faded away. The music was no longer the most beautiful thing in existence. He was. Nesta couldn't stop it then. The answering smile that bloomed through her at last, stealing across her face, bright as the dawn. My God, she loves him so much, guys. And we've already established how much music means to Nesta, and instantly, music isn't the most beautiful thing. It's Cassian. It shows how much she cares. And it's the way it's described of her answering smile. It's implying that it's the first time that she smiled to him in months, maybe years. Like there's just something about like her answering smile, because we know he keeps looking at her with like, I love you so much energy, and her smile is answering. And I think it's more than just this one moment of answering. It's answering the years that have happened between them.
Yeah. And the use of the dawn, right? We've talked about how dawn imagery is so important with Nesta. It's that new beginning. It's that beginning of something. And there's a lot of use of dawn coming up. Like we're transitioning, we're transforming into the next phase of what comes next.
Is Dawn Dish Soap sponsoring this podcast? Because there's a lot of Dawn.
No.
They're not sponsoring.
Before we move into chapter 58, one of my favorite things about this scene that I think we gloss over is how supportive Moore is when we get into Cassian's point of view. Quote, Moore was at his side a moment later, her lips curving upward. Looks like our lessons paid off. Cassian kissed her cheek. I owe you one. They'd been training in secret these past weeks. Moore had been positively giddy when he'd asked her for her help. Now, let's remember, yes, Moore loves Cassian and loves the idea of dancing with Cassian, but she wouldn't be so giddy about it if she still really hated Nesta, right? Because this is in service of Cassian wooing Nesta. More than likely, if she was still mad at Nesta for any reason, she would be chastising Cassian, and Moore would be telling him it's not worth the effort.
Yeah.
I think deep down, this is showing us how Moore really wants Cassian to be happy, and that earlier, last week's episode, when she was neutral with Nesta, it was for Cassian's sake. She probably can also smell the mating bond. I'm like, at this point, guys.
We also kind of talked about last time of like how she and Nesta had developed like their own bond. Like there's a beginning there, and I think she likes her. I think Noor's like, I am so on board. Like, I'm here, Nesta. Allow me in. And it's funny because in hindsight, we didn't even catch this or say anything, but Moore telling Clotho, oh, Nesta's running me ragged with these lessons.
What's a joke?
Because Cassian is also doing these lessons for Nesta.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So she's doing double time lessons.
That's a good point.
Take a sip, guys. That was only one fucking chapter. So we're in chapter 58, and it is now winter solstice. And it's really sad seeing Nesta trying to cope with winter solstice and seeing her try and put an effort in, especially when we and Nesta remember the year before. Quote, but she stood outside while the others celebrated the winter solstice within and felt like a ghost looking through the window. So this is before she goes inside and she just sees everyone celebrating, and she remembers how last year she was so out, like not a part of it. And then it just made me think, I look in people's windows, transfixed by rose golden glows. They have their friends over to drink nice wine. That's Taylor Swift, guys.
I think that this scene comes at the perfect time because we've seen Nesta conquer her reaction to the fire. We've seen her conquer her fear of the darkness in the pit of the library because that's where the ravens and Bryaxis once lurked. And now she's facing the next difficult memory, and that is the memory of last year's winter solstice. And it shows a lot of resilience on her part to be here, and I think it's an important part of her journey as well.
Resilience and humility. Like, this is probably one of the most humbling moments for Nesta. Every eye is on her and seeing how she's going to behave. And Nesta's trying to open up to Cassian and everyone, but she is still struggling to get there. And we need to flag the moments when she is actively struggling. Because like, we know, we read this and we're like, good job, Nesta, you did wonderful. But there are these moments, and again, we have to flag them. So then later when she has her freak out, it makes sense, right? Quote, she realized how stupidly she'd been smiling at him, how those walls in her mind had dropped. So this is her looking at Cassian, and she kind of has to catch herself like, oh my God, the walls came down. No, like it's almost dropped, and like it's about to drop later tonight as well as her panties. But like, she's still going to cling on to, like, there's these levels and layers to Nesta. It's not just one and done. She cried on a mountain. She's done. It's not a, oh my God, I love you. Not even I love you. Hey, let's be together forever. I'm not going to marry Eris. And yet she can't say mate. You know what I mean? Like, there's layers to her. There's many walls.
There is. And we're going to see a lot of how those walls fall down, come up, turn around. I was trying to think of, take one down, pass it around. I was thinking of 99 Beers on the Wall.
We're going somewhere with this. Are her walls a bop it? You spin it, twist it, bop it, pull it?
Right after Nesta remembers the way she smiled at Cassian at the Court of Nightmares, we also learned this little tidbit about how Eris has asked for her hand in marriage. Quote, he'd bid for her. She'd learned with no small amount of smugness. Nesta left it to Rhysand and Feyre to decide how to wield that offer. I really like this moment, and I point it out because it's a small clue for us as readers. Again, as I keep saying, Nesta appreciates making that contribution, that she did succeed, but it also shows she doesn't actually necessarily want to be in charge, right? She's okay with Rhysand and Feyre calling the shots. She's okay with them using Nesta's accomplishment as a weapon. And I think it's supposed to signal to us that there's never really going to be jealousy between Nesta and Feyre regarding Feyre's position as High Lady. Like, yes, Nesta might be the one everyone views as a queen, but Nesta doesn't really want to be a queen.
to flag, at least nothing that I can remember, but Nesta continues to say that Rhys is not her High Lord. You are not my High Lord. You are not my anything. I have yet to hear her say anything to Feyre about her not being her High Lady.
Good point.
You know?
I mean, she did grow up in a matriarchal household.
Yeah. I think that Nesta would bend the knee to Feyre far more quickly and easier than to Rhys and.
I agree.
I love the contrast between Nesta and Cassian when they enter the river house. Quote, she followed Cassian into the river house where he immediately aimed for the family room, shucking off his snow-crusted cloak and dropping it onto a bench in the grand foyer on the way. Nesta frowned at the dripping snow on the brocaded material and picked it up, eager for anything to do with herself to avoid going into that room. She hung both garments there and heaved a long breath as she shut the door. It's the need to be tidy and clean. There's definitely a need here, and I think there can be two interpretations for this. A, she doesn't want to feel like this is her house. Whether she doesn't want to make it feel that way or she just doesn't feel comfortable, like I think, you can look at it that way. I think it's a choice to feel comfortable or not. I mean, yes and no. Later on, she will feel more comfortable here, but it's just such a great contrast to Cassian. And I feel like it also shows how different she is from a year before, right? Like she was the mess. She was the messy thing in the other house, but now she is here to clean the mess.
Also, I like all those thoughts. I think when I saw this, I really felt Nesta's reluctance to go into that room. And in a way, she leans back in again to that quote unquote femininity and propriety of being human. It doesn't matter whose house you're in. We should always be proper and put our clothes away. And she acts on maybe that very human upbringing to negate her feelings of discomfort right now.
I would be nagging Cassian so hard about how rude that was. I'd be like, you just let your snow drip all over your friend's couch. That's gonna stain it. What, so that a servant can come take care of it? Go fucking hang up your own shit.
Yeah. And be like, well, Rhys can just snap his fingers and it will go away. It'll be fine.
Let me snap my fingers, bitch. Go. That's not how I handle an argument, but I would be pointing that out very intensely. Nesta and Elaine have their first conversation since their big fight, and I personally am a little torn with it. So Nesta says, quote, Cassian said it might be good if I came. Elaine's eyes flickered. Did Feyre pay you like last year? No. Shame washed through her. I think this is a low blow. I do feel like Elaine is just trying to get a reaction out of Nesta. I feel like this is her pushing limits, like to see how much Nesta has actually grown. Arguably, I think Elaine is probably the only one that doesn't have kid gloves with Nesta. People are either ignoring Nesta or very wary of her. Meanwhile, Elaine comes in and is like, so what, were you bribed? Wow. In response to that, and with Elaine then lecturing Nesta, saying like, hey, be nice to Feyre, it's her birthday. Nesta says, fuck you to Elaine, and Elaine starts laughing at that. Quote, you've never said such a thing to me, she laughed again. I think that's a good sign, isn't it? Sure. I mean, it's definitely a sign that Elaine doesn't want to be treated with kid gloves, right? Like she wants to be treated as equally as everyone else. And yes, like I think that's a good sign.
I think it is because Elaine knows Nesta only wants to protect Elaine. And so Elaine really is the only person that can push Nesta's buttons safely. And for Nesta to finally snap when those buttons are being pushed by Elaine does show a changing dynamic in their relationship, which I think is a relief for Elaine. I also think the fact that Elaine is amused by this and the fact that it's so unexpected by Nesta shows how much Nesta doesn't actually know Elaine.
Yeah, no one knows Elaine. Again, Elaine only knows some of the information about Feyre because she happens to live there. She's a friend of convenience. Feyre even fucking said that in the secret chapter. Side note, when Nesta walks in, Cassie and Rhys and Lucien they're described as like in the corner talking about a sporting event. And I was like, oh, sexy chicken Federation League.
Oh my gosh. Sporting Federation
League. Federation and League is basically the same thing, but like, that's the logo. It's like a sporting logo.
Oh my gosh. I can see it already.
Yeah.
When Nesta takes a seat in the living room, she remembers her actions from last year's solstice. Quote, when they'd watched her sit sullen as a child in the back of the townhouse living room, then storm out. Now, the fact that Nesta in her own mind considers herself a sullen child in last year's Solstice shows how much disdain she has for her own self and that memory. She can't even justify to herself anymore how she acted back then. And the fact that Nesta feels that shame, I think, shows growth because she's no longer able to justify her bad actions. It also sets up her mindset for when Cassian gives her the Solstice gift he prepared for her because she's really dwelling on last year.
Yeah. Because I've given so much shit, I need to prove to everyone that I am capable of growth, okay? And I'm capable of showing when characters who piss me off don't piss me off. So, quote, "You mind if I start joining you?" This is more talking to Nesta, and the fact that Moore, I feel like, is trying to find a truce and peace with Nesta. Quote, "Mind if I start joining you once this business with Valhallan is over? I never got to train with the Valkyries before the First War, and after it, they were all gone. I think the priestesses would like to see you." This might not be like besties developing, but there is a piece of camaraderie. It's like I know what the word is, and I knew I was going to fail, and I gave up before I even started. But yes, like there's a camaraderie between the two of them. You guys, there's these like mean group of girls online who have been attacking us on Instagram lately, and they comment on our posts and they just attack. And I posted a post today of me misreading something, and I am on edge that they're going to respond and be like, "You're so stupid," which is something that they would do.
It is something they would do. And that's when you shame them.
I'm ready. I have my response.
Because they shamed you for misspelling something in a post.
Yeah.
Never mind that the majority of their posts have misspelled words.
I didn't know that.
Their comments also have misspelled words.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like whenever someone when they say something mean to me, I'm like, just wait till I have my friend read your stuff.
And tell me about it.
She's going to take care of me.
I do see a tentative companionship, friendship in the making. And I love that this might even be set up for a way for Moore and Emery to see each other in the future.
Yeah. Sexy training montage.
It's also the fact that Moore's initiating this request, I think, shows growth on Moore's part.
Yes.
Maybe her time in Valahand is teaching her something.
Mm-hmm.
Something. I'll be interested to see if we learn more about that.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the next several books. There is a bond between Asriel and Nesta that I think is not only set up for the bonus chapter that we're going to discuss later this episode, but I also think it shows how Nesta is going to be able to bond with those around her. So at this point, Nesta went and joined Asriel in the corner because he's just watching people and he's watching Elaine and everyone. And you know, she's like, "Why are you even here? Like, do you want to go join them?" And he's like, "No, I'm good here." And she was like, "Then why?" And he says, quote, "They pull people together and bring them joy. They are a time to pause and reflect and gather, and those are never bad things." Shadows darkened his eyes, full of enough pain that she couldn't stop herself from touching his shoulder, letting him see that she understood why he stood in the doorway, why he wouldn't go near the fire. His secret to tell, never hers. Now, someone might read this and be like, this is about Elaine and his love for Elaine, and, you know, he wants to be with her and Nesta sees it. And sure, maybe, I think that might be a part of it. But mainly I feel like it's this feeling of not belonging. Asriel, we haven't had much from him, but I think it's safe to say that he really sees himself as other. He doesn't winnow like everyone else. He has a whole different type of magic. He's not like any other Illyrians. He really separates himself from Illyrians. He doesn't control shadows the way that Rhys controls shadows. I mean, even with his own family and upbringing from his own brothers, he was uttered so hard he was abused, and his hands are scarred. And I think that he and Nesta understands this darkness that's inside that makes you feel a little separated from others. And I feel like everyone has that. I feel like everyone has a little dark thing inside them, whether it's depression or trauma or something that makes you feel separated. And I feel like that's something that Nesta's going to be able to bond with each person over.
I just also really love their friendship. And I think it does a lot of nice setup for something that will not be discussed.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do with this book. All right. So we now switch over to Cassian's point of view, and he feels all warm in his heart because of how Nesta and Azriel are like bonding. And he thinks about the gift he got for Nesta last year that he threw into the river. This is what happened during Frost and Starlight, in case you don't remember. Quote, he'd spent months tracking down the book, so tiny it would fit in a doll's hands, but so precious it had cost him an undecent amount of money. A miniature illuminated manuscript, crafted by the skilled hands of the smallest of the lesser fae, one of the first printed books in existence. He'd regretted throwing it into the river the moment it had vanished under the ice, but he'd been foolish that night. Now, it also talks about how he was like, he figured Nesta would appreciate that piece of history, even if it was fae history. And I think there's a lot of symbolism, or metaphorically speaking, in this idea. Cassian thought Nesta would appreciate the history of this small book, and it's cute, she likes books, so she would like this book. It's part of fae history. But knowing that she's struggling holding on to her humanity, even now when she's like in a better place mentally, shows in some way that Cassian didn't really understand Nesta at this time last year. I genuinely don't think it would have gone over well, even if she was in a good place, because it's a book I can't read and it's a piece of fae history. Like, why do I give a shit? Just putting that out there.
I just love that. I think that's a really good freaking point. I think that it's one of those moments where it's surface level shows that they know you versus genuinely shows that they know you. And when you compare the previous year versus this year's gift, like one is like, you like books. And then this one is, I know you deeply. And it reminds me, and I hope no one who has done this for me listens to this part. I have gotten a couple over the years, little books that are like about Taylor Swift or about England. And it's like cute little gimmicky books of like, you haven't gotten any of these from me before, have you? Okay, I thought so. But it's one of those things where it's like, you like books, you like Taylor Swift, you like London. And I'm like, thank you. I'm never going to read this.
I'm not going to put this on my shelf.
No. And there's a pile of it inside, like my hidden books, where it's like, yeah. But yeah, it's one of those, it's like, I know these things about you, but you don't know the person.
Yep. Now, the last bit of that quote where he throws it into the river and it vanishes under the ice, I feel like is also metaphorical, because it's like Cassian symbolically trying to ice over his own heart so he can't get hurt again and hide his vulnerability. And that ice has been melting. It's because he feels vulnerable again that he feels very nervous giving Nesta her gift this year. Because, again, he doesn't want to get hurt. Quote, considering how last year's attempt had gone, considering that since the ball she'd stayed out of his bed, he'd held back from giving her present to Nesta in front of the rest of the inner circle, in case she shattered his heart all over again. And just like the past haunts Nesta thinking about last year's solstice, it haunts Cassian as well. And more miscommunication for them, between them, about to be resolved and make us all cry. Now, the night is winding down. Everybody's drunk. Nesta's really tired and has not been drinking. And she wants to, go lay down. So she goes to the room that Feyre's prepared for her and is like, this is your room when you visit. Quote, it was soothing and smelled of jasmine, precisely the sort of room she'd have designed for herself if she'd been given the chance. She had been given the chance, she realized. Feyre had asked and she'd refused. Apparently, Feyre had done it herself, somehow knowing what she'd like. This kills me. Somehow my sister would know what I'd like, even though she's known me the majority of her life. Or all of her life, technically. For Nesta to be surprised that she's been observed by Feyre, that Feyre knows her, shows how I think Feyre is much closer and thoughtful of Nesta. A, than Nesta ever realized, and B, than Nesta ever was toward Feyre in a lot of ways. Because, yes, Nesta doesn't believe she's not worth the time and effort, but I think she also believes Feyre's not capable of that kind of affection towards her.
Well, I mean, she started this book thinking, like, I'm not in any of the paintings.
Right.
She doesn't want me anywhere near here. She doesn't have any paintings of her mom or anything like that. And now she discovers there's an entire room dedicated to her.
And it's what I like.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the way she reacts so bombastic is not the word, but and it's not an overreaction, but she has so much reaction to like the gift Azrael gets her, to this idea that Feyre created this room that Nesta would love, because she's shocked that people are capable of knowing her because she's so used to closing people off, which is why Cassian's gift knocks her socks off.
Oh boy, does she love Cassian's gift. So he gives her a little music ball, and it shows how much he knows her. Like we talked about it. There's a difference between knowing what you like and knowing the person. He went to every single one of the bars, or not every single one, who knows, but he went to the bars that she would go and get drunk at and then collect the music, and was paying the people to perform away from the crowd so that he can get the music. And what I love about this, though, is that I think it's also Cassian showing that he understands why she went to these taverns, right? She told him, like, I also went there for the music. Like, yes, she went for gambling and drinking and fucking, but she also was there for the music. And I think it's a type of almost forgiveness. Not saying that he needs to forgive her, but this understanding of like, you are more than just your trauma. You have other things about you as well.
Mm-hmm. And like acknowledging and approving of her interest of like, hey, I get that you went to taverns for the music, and it's okay that you went to taverns for the music. I might not have liked all the other stuff, but that doesn't make the taverns a bad place. That doesn't make the music you listen to bad. It's also obviously a way for Cassian to show his love. Like I said earlier, they both are people of action. They show love through action. And the amount of effort he put in to create this year's gift is beyond any effort like probably Nesta's ever received in a gift.
Yeah. It reminded me of a gift I gave my mom and how much effort I put into it. Basically, one year she was like, I don't want presents, just give me a bunch of cash so that she could buy, I think, a laptop or something, like kind of contribute to it. So rather than just giving her cash or a check, I hid the money around the house and had her go on a scavenger hunt and answer riddles. So there's two different types of effort.
The one you do or the one you make the other person do.
And yet both equally shows love, you know?
Yeah.
It also means a lot to Nesta how much effort and what he did in order to collect all of that music for her. Quote, she shut her eyes against the realization rising within her like a tidal wave. It would sweep away everything in its path once she admitted it, consumed her entirely. This is her talking about her love for him. This is her talking about them being mates. And of course, this will terrify her. It's scary on a good day for a normal person. I mean, normal is relative here, but, you know, for someone who might be pretty balanced, that's a terrifying concept. For our baby girl here, of course, this is going to rock her world. And Nesta finally cracks. At this point, she's like, I can't do this. Like, I'm, you know, take it back. I don't want your gift. And he was like, the fuck? And they kind of argue a little bit, and she cracks and starts to tell him the reasons why she held back. Quote, you are everything I have never been and will never be good enough for. Your friends know it, and I have carried it around with me all this time, that I do not deserve you. Which is why it's going to hurt so good when he says that he was shackled to her. And it's like, you know, you like, that's her insecurity, right? That she knows everyone has warned him away from her, whether she heard it or not. Like, she knows. And it's a reminder that one good cry on a mountain does not fix everything. Like, it's sad, but it also shows that not just Nesta, but everyone, and healing has layers to it. It's not just one issue. For Nesta, it's not just the guilt of Feyre or the guilt of her father. I think this is one of the most realistic moments in this book and in this series, that facing one chunk of your issues does not fix everything, and it doesn't make everything else easier. Now, the fact that she is able to get to this, like, you know, crying confession in one argument, I think is very successful. I'm like, look at that. You're admitting things a lot faster. It did not require 5 days of hiking in the forest. Wow.
Yeah. Progress.
Yeah. And we get more of her confession here. Quote, denying myself of you, she sobbed. It was my punishment. Don't you understand that? For Nesta, denial of love is punishment. Denial of being loved is punishment. A lot of that goes into her relationship with her own mother, too.
I mean, and that's how she punished her father, too. She denied him
Yeah.
her love.
Yeah. Good point. Is that what you were thinking of just now?
Yeah.
Like you got quiet and I was
Yeah.
like, you either heard something or you're thinking smart.
No, it just ding.
Nice. Good call.
Now, continuing the quote, "From the moment I met you, I wanted you more than reason, and it terrified me. No one had ever held such power over me, and I am still terrified that if I let myself have you, it will be taken away. Someone will take it away." Now, yes, in Nesta's mind, denial of love is her own punishment, but also accepting love is not a reward. It's the loss of control. It's the loss of power over herself, and it creates vulnerabilities that can be weaponized against her. So it's a lose-lose situation for Nesta either way. And, up until this point, at least before now, she's never really learned how to let go of control because it's either control or failure. There was never the option of letting go of control.
I'm so sorry for this joke. It's control or it's going to be control, alt, delete.
It's not where I thought that was going.
But it works. It works too.
It works. I can imagine Benter going, oh my God.
She really stopped reporting back on the things that made her laugh. And I do worry for her. She's our editor. She's great. One time I was showing Amy like an inappropriate image and then I felt bad because I don't know if Benter wants to see it or not. So then we have to like warn her, or if we burp, we have to apologize. It's a whole thing.
When we edited for ourselves, we didn't excuse ourselves.
No.
Shit. The spring court's giving me sniffles. We'll be right back.
Amy, we were just in New York for BookCon, and did you notice that all of the New York girlies were wearing quince?
You're so right. They were stylish, street appropriate, but also business casual.
It's amazing how I was spotting some of Quince's staple pieces on the street. I can always spot one of their Mongolian cashmeres from a mile away because it's always so soft and so nice. Quince really spends time on making sure they give you the best quality clothing they can with premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra soft denim.
Their styles make getting dressed simpler. They make me feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together with tops that start at just $30. You can't beat that for work.
Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup.
Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/booktalk. Struggling to find the right metabolic wellness support, even when you're doing everything right, has been one of the most frustrating things for me in my health journey.
I've tried other metabolic wellness support providers, and I often feel rejected rather than supported by the process.
That's because Brello is focused on long-term health, longevity, and performance, not quick fixes.
Brello is designed for people who want a more sustainable approach to their metabolic wellness support. Their support helps you focus on habits, education, and structure alongside provider oversight.
Getting my GLP-1 through Brello has been so easy. They make it so effortless, and they provide all the support I need through their app.
Their app is one of a kind in my book because it allows you to track progress, manage reminders, and stay on top of renewals. And if you're like me, managing the renewals is the hardest part.
Everything is managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and medications are delivered to your door. They're so transparent with their pricing with one flat monthly cost. Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
Any information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. All patients must consult with a healthcare provider prior to the prescription or dispensing of any medication, which will be done only pursuant to a valid prescription. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved, and the FDA does not evaluate their safety, effectiveness, or quality. Patients are encouraged to discuss the risks, benefits, and appropriateness of any medications, including compounded products, with their healthcare provider before use. The last thing I'll say is Nesta has never really known how to let go of control, because if she lets go of control of one thing, what else will she lose control over? And that is something I understand.
Not her watery bowels. That was a one and done thing for her. Unlike Farah, who kept going. This is a very emotional, real moment of honesty between the two of them. And even then there's walls. Quote, Nesta saw all the words in his eyes, though, the same ones she knew lay in her own. So he stopped trying to speak and closed the distance between them. Cassian admits later that the reason why he doesn't say, "You're my mate" or "I love you" is because he knows it's going to scare her. And it does. It's funny because she looks at his eyes and she can see the words. And we don't know what he sees when he looks in her eyes. Mm-hmm. Dare I say, maybe a little bit of fear. Mm-hmm. I mean, she just was crying, right? Like, she's sitting here being like, I don't deserve you. I care about you. And it's all overwhelming for her in this moment. So again, like, yes, this is an honest moment and they're going to promise each other forever, but she still can't bring herself to say, I love you. And neither can he, but for understandable reasons.
Before we get to this next part, Cassian and Nesta take their time undressing each other. And I love this little touch from SJM because it brings something full circle for me that has been slowly been planted leading up to this point. So up until now, anytime Nesta's fingers tremble, we see it from her point of view. And anytime Cassian's fingers tremble, we see it from his point of view. And now, for the first time, we see both from a single person's point of view. And what it achieves is them truly showing each other their vulnerability. Quote, she expected tearing and rending, but he gently removed her dress, fingers trembling as they unhooked each button down the back of her gown. Her own trembled as she removed his shirt. So they always try to hide their trembling from each other, but this is the first time from a single point of view. They're both trembling. It's acknowledged. And I think it's meant to show like they are truly at their most vulnerable with one another and they're not hiding it, even if they can't say all the words.
What a good point.
Thanks.
You really outdid yourself with that one.
Thanks.
That was great. I have nothing to add. As we said from the beginning, Nesta and Cassian having sex is a way for them to connect. While they're having sex and with each thrust, it brings down Nesta's walls. Quote, on the fifth, that being the thrust, the walls of that inner fortress of ancient iron came down. Cassian pulled away as if sensing it, and his eyes flared as they met her own. So Nesta let all that lay beyond those iron walls unspool towards him. Thread after thread of pure golden light flowed into him, and he met it with his own. We know it's the mating bond that's coming into place, but it's also so beautifully done that it shows, I think, more. It shows Nesta opening up to him. Like, again, these iron walls are breaking down. We know that her mind has been described as a fortress from Rhys. Like, we've seen different point of views of how closed up emotionally and physically and mentally she really is. It would make sense then for Nesta that their bond is like music. Quote, and I am yours. And this is like a moment where he was like, say it. And she goes, I am yours. Those golden threads between their very souls shone with the words as if they formed a harp strummed by a heavenly hand. For it was music between their souls, always had been. And his voice was her favorite melody. Oh, gorgeous, beautiful. I love it. I do struggle with these books when they're always like, the guy's like, say it, say it. And I just feel like I'd get it wrong. I'd be like, Daddy? No, okay, no, that's not the right moment. All right.
I mean, he could have wanted her to say, we're mates.
Or I love you. That's what I was thinking, right?
Yeah. But like, you are mine and I am yours is also acceptable. And I think that's also what Feyre and Rhys say to each other.
And then there's like another SJM book series. They do the same thing of like, say it. And it's like, You're so big. You can't fit. Oh, baby, you're ginormous. Is that what you want to hear? Is that an oversized sweet potato that I got at Ralph's, or are you just happy to see me? All right, let's take a sip.
Moving into chapter 59, there is peace and contentment the following day when Nesta wakes up in Cassian's arms. Quote, a calm settled over her, strikingly similar to what she felt when she did her daily mind stilling. I love that Cassian's presence, specifically being in his arms, which she's been wanting and he's been denying her, is soothing her and stills her racing thoughts, just like the mind-stilling breathing exercises. And it says a lot about how much she actually really needs affection, which they've both been avoiding. But part of the peace that she feels is only achievable because of the truth that they've accepted about their feelings for one another, even if they haven't said it yet. Because, quote, as the dawn broke, they tangled again, their lovemaking thorough and unhurried. So much fucking Dawn. Dawn.
Sponsored by Dawn Dish Soap.
Not
at all. Cassian leaves immediately. And we find out very shortly, like in the next chapter or so, he leaves because he wakes up and he was like, oh, we are about to have mate sex. And he leaves for like 5 days. And it bums me out because that means they missed out on their initial mating bond marathon sex. And I'm not saying that just because, like, you know, we missed some potentially hot scenes, but it seems like an important part of a mating bond. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like when Rhys and Feyre had that. It's like, you know, it solidifies it, right? Like it's their time. And granted, like he doesn't want to do that without Nesta knowing what's going on, but he also made a choice about their experience as a couple and as mates without her consent.
Yeah. And she is like needy. Yeah. She is chafing for him. She is like, why the fuck is he here?
Yeah, I get what he did and why he did it, but like I actually feel like that's a
little cowardly on his part.
It's cowardly and it's like making a call. Also, it's like her own body. You know what I mean? Like it's a physical reaction. It's not the same of what Rhys is doing with Feyre. We keep talking about like having control of other women's bodies and how they're, you know, being used. I don't know, whatever it is, but he did that and I don't like it. Anyway, Nesta is lonely because Cassian's gone. So she invites her besties. She invites Emery and Gwen to stay the night. Not only is Nesta super horny for Cassian while he's gone, but I feel like this time with Emery and Gwen is almost like her own personal winter solstice with her friends.
Yeah. And I think it's great. It's bonding.
Yeah.
Now, Emery and Gwen discover for the first time that the house is magical and it can give them things. And so they play around making, quote, requests that had gotten more and more absurd. And Nesta might have felt like they were exploiting the house had it not been so exuberant in answering their commands, adding creative flourishes. You know who else added creative flourishes? Nesta adding extra twirls at the Solstice Ball when she danced with Eris. They are one and the same.
It's very true. It's a good point. This is a scene that a lot of people have kind of issues with. Like they think it's too cheesy or it feels out of place or it doesn't sit right with them. I think it's one of the most human or the most realistic examples of female friendship that we don't see in books. And I feel like that's kind of takes people, like, because at first it kind of took me out of it as a reader. And then I had to be like, why is that? Even though it's like ridiculous and, you know, like they're sitting in bubble baths without the water, it's still so realistic of how friends would handle this.
And I think it's like true friends you feel the safest with. And not everybody has that experience. This is Jack and I doing our dumbest shit. Like,
yeah. We don't even have a house to entertain us. When we're on our shit, and it does not take much for us to be on our shit, God help us and anyone who surrounds us. If we had a magic house.
Yeah, poor Emma.
What's one thing that you would...
What's one thing I would wish for from the house?
Yeah.
I want a room just full of cats that I'm not allergic to, that I can play with all the time.
That's the most sad, honest answer. Oh my God. I feel so bad for you and I'm so sorry. And it's such a good answer.
I think it's the best answer.
I think it's the best answer. Mine was like, it's like realistic life-size, like portraits. They're not portraits, but like of men, but obviously like they're not real, but of all the book boyfriends, well, naked, so I can compare and contrast.
I like mine better.
I do too. I mean, I think they're both equally strong.
Yeah.
Yours does come out on top. Yeah, different reasons. One has to deal with pussies. The other one has to deal with dicks. And
one is about pure, unfiltered, unadulterated joy.
And then the other one's about cats.
It's rude.
No, I agree. Yours is significantly better, and I want to be a part of that room. This really honest moment with Gwen, and it really speaks volumes to like the dynamic of friends, right? You could be goofing around with unicorns, cats, and naked men, but then you have a very honest moment. And she says, quote, "Sometimes I wonder if I shall ever have the courage to go out there again. I fear every day that I won't." Nesta's smile slid away. She considered her words before she said, "I feel the same." This is honest and it's frank and it's a great setup for what's about to happen. And SJM is great at doing this. She does this with all of her books. She leaves little tiny breadcrumbs, someone saying one casual thing, and it always happens a few chapters before shit breaks the fan. And she's doing it again here. Proud of her. Good job, SJM.
I love that shit breaks the fan instead of hits the fan. I think I'm going to use that in the future. The shit broke the fan.
I really want to say that I knew what I was doing, but I didn't. And I think it did come out to be better. Shit broke the fan. You mean it hit it? Yeah. And then it broke.
And then it broke.
Okay.
The shit got in the fan.
That's how intense the shit was. The thing is, I know what you're thinking of some of your own that could break a fan.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you were thinking, isn't it?
What I was thinking.
You were imagining them. Like, which one would actually break the fan? I fucking know you. And I know you. I know in your head you would be like, and I got some that would break the fan.
Was thinking about which one.
Yeah.
My point about Gwen is that this comment that, like, will I ever be strong enough to leave, speaks to the emotional gravity of the fact that she leaves for Nesta later on.
And the tragedy of what Gwen's trauma of being in the forest surrounded by not just men, but rapey men is going to bring to her. Like, we don't even process how traumatic that experience is going to be for Gwen. Nesta is working through her own relationship with Feyre, and I think that's really amazing because Nesta's trying to figure out what she wants with her relationship with Feyre to be. So this is when Gwen is talking about her own sister. Quote, "She was the only one I could truly rely on. I miss her every day." Nesta couldn't stop herself from thinking of Feyre. She wasn't perfect, but neither was Feyre. They had both made mistakes and both had long lies ahead of them. What had occurred in the past did not have to dictate the future. Nesta is coming to terms with the fact that she wants a relationship with Feyre, even of some kind. And that is huge. Like, Nesta has said that even as a child, Feyre was just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they were rich and they were living with their mom and dad, she really didn't want anything to do with Feyre. She just kind of existed away from her. And now for the first time, she actually gets to have a bond and relationship. And Nesta spends so much more time thinking about what she wants a relationship with Feyre to be than she remotely does with Elaine. Even with their like funny, haha, fuck you, oh my God, you never speak to me that way. Nesta doesn't think about what she wants with Elaine. Like, you know, and I think that's also a very equally complicated relationship. Like, do I plan on being protective over her anymore? Not really. You know what I mean? So Feyre represents a lot of Nesta's issues. And I'm not saying that Feyre is the cause of all of her issues, just that, you know, there's mommy issues there, daddy issues there. And, you know, as Nesta tackles them with Feyre, she's going to be tackling a lot of other issues at the same time.
I love this thought. Because Feyre never asked to represent these issues. Nesta never intended for Feyre to represent those issues. But ultimately, Nesta's relationship with Feyre, or the idea of Feyre, has always been the crack in Nesta's, like, performative armor, who she is in society. She can't be what she's meant to be. She can only be her truest self. Because something about Feyre's existence has always challenged Nesta. Again, not because Nesta wanted to, but kind of because of what Nesta's mother made Nesta believe about herself and her place in the world. And therefore, Feyre brings out the worst in Nesta, as well as Nesta's truest self. And I think that challenge and that difficulty for Nesta is she's realizing it's not a reason to hate Feyre. It's not a reason to push Feyre away, and that she wants to overcome it. And I think that's a really beautiful thing.
I agree. And then Nesta comes to this amazing realization as she's thinking about Emery and Gwen and the fact that they are, quote, a chosen family, like the one Feyre had found for herself. So at the start of the book, Nesta blamed Feyre for finding a new family. She was very resentful of like, you hated our family so much, you had to go and start a new one. And it's like, yeah, you're a massive bitch to her. So eventually you figured it out. But, you know, that is part of her issues with Feyre at the beginning of the book. And she continued to also tell Cassian, like, don't tell me how Feyre did this. I don't want to know how my sister handled it. I want nothing to do with how my sister handled it. So not only does she understand that she too could have a found family like Feyre, her own found family separate from the inner circle, but she is also following the path of her sister, something that she really did not want to do at the start of the book, and yet has through the end of it. She followed a similar path, but very much forged her own at the same time. And for me personally, a lot of books have chosen family themes and, you know, they've never really hit. Like, I mean, I like them, but they're not like, this resonates so much for me. But this one with Emery and Gwen, this one hits me hard with this chosen family.
Yeah, I like that you bring that up because sometimes some of the biggest gripes about Silver Flames, other than the fact people don't like Nesta sometimes, is they don't love the repetition of the chosen family theme. But I think if we think back on the Call Her Daddy interview with SJM, it sounds like her experience may have also involved a chosen family, and that was so healing for her. And I think that's why people get it, because at the end of the day, and the older I get, the more I understand why the chosen family is so important, because there are certain things that, as much as I love my family, I don't think are overcomable. And you need that stability that you can't always find in the people you grew up with, family you were born into. What I like most about the chosen family in Silver Flames that I don't think other books do is that the chosen family element of this teaches Nesta how to mend her relationship with her real family. And in most other books, the chosen family is a substitute for the real family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that differentiation is what makes this book great.
What I also love about this chosen family is that a lot of times with books, chosen family comes with the MMC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was Feyre and Rhys, right? Rhys comes with the chosen family. Even though Nesta and Azriel will have their own bond, that's not her chosen family the way that Emery and Gwen are. And that's another aspect that I think that a lot of other people, Amy and I, who are both, Amy's not single, but single through the 20s into the 30s. But like we did not go through this, but I know there's a lot of people who meet their partners young and that becomes their family. And then they don't have any other friends and they don't have that chosen family. And, you know, maybe they don't live close or near, or they're that emotionally close with their own family, but they aren't able to find that connection. And this chosen family is independent and separate from her romantic relationship. And I don't think we really see that. And there is a very clear line between Emery and Gwen than from Cassian. All right. So that goes into chapter 60. Amy's going to take a sip. I
sure am.
Because my water is over there and I'm over here. And I don't want to stand up. I don't want to stand up. My leg is in a comfy position right now. We are in chapter 60 and Cassian was gone for 5 days and now he's back and he's watching the trio train with Azriel. And I am sorry, Azriel and Gwen. I'm going to be pointing this out in this chapter. But remember, though, this is after the special bonus chapter from Winter Solstice, which we will be talking in Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks. So you have time to read that before that episode comes out. Also, you can pause and read it too. Just keep that in mind as I go through all these things, and I'm obnoxious. I didn't choose to do this or be this person. It was forced upon me. So Gwen is trying to cut the ribbon and Azriel is watching. Quote, Cassian glanced over at Az, but his attention was fixed on the young priestess, admiration and quiet encouragement shining from his face. Shining? Like, nothing about Azriel. He's all shadow. This man does not shine, but he be shining. And I'm just getting started. I'm so sorry.
I will interrupt this Gwynreal broadcast for a moment to say that when Emery tells Gwyn and Nesta that nothing can break them, Cassian thinks, quote, "The world seemed to pause at the words, as if it had been following one path and now branched off in another direction. In 100 years, 1,000, this moment would still be etched in his mind, that he would tell his children, his grandchildren, right then and there, that was when it all changed." It's the start of the Valkyries. It's also this moment that Cassian decides to set up the blood right qualifier, which definitely changes shit. So, it plays a significant role in this book, but I wonder if it will also play a significant role in future books.
Probably. So Gwyn finally cuts the ribbon. Quote, "Nesta bent down and picked up the fallen half of the ribbon and solemnly tied it around Gwyn's brow. Makeshift version of what the priestesses wore atop their heads with their stones. But Cassian had never seen Gwyn display her invoking stone." So every time I read it, I'm like, it's so cheesy. It's one of those moments where I'm like, I would not do well if that was a real situation. But let's take it seriously for a moment. Let's have this be an analysis. And I think it's important to show that this takes over religion, that Gwyn had never fully stepped into being a priestess, partly because she felt like she was unworthy, but also because I think that it just never really resonated with her. And this is taking over the place where the invoking stone would be. This is her new faith, her new belief in many ways, and that being her faith and belief in herself.
But I think it's beautiful. And let's be honest. If you had been trying to cut a ribbon with a sword and finally did it after months, I fucking know you'd tie that shit around your wrist.
Yeah. No. That ribbon would be on my wall. I'm a sentimental whore. That would be on it. Absolutely. I can't imagine you picking it up and tying it around my head though.
I can.
You can?
I can.
Are we giggling while it happens or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I make no more apologies. So after Azriel and Cassian explain the course and, what's going on, that they have to complete the course, Gwyn says, quote, "What do we get if we finish the course?" As his shadows danced around him. "Since there's no chance in hell any of you will finish the course, we didn't even bother with the prize." Boos sounded. Gwyn lifted her head in challenge. "We look forward to proving you wrong." Why add these moments? Why add this back and forth between them? Why setup, if not setup, So when Gwyn doesn't make the obstacle course, we get this scene. Quote, "Gwyn threw Azriel a withering stare as she strode past him. 'See you tomorrow, Shadow Singer,' she tossed back over her shoulder. Az stared after her, brows high with amusement. When he turned back, Nesta grinned. 'You have no idea what you started,' she said. Az angled his head, hazel eyes narrowing as Gwyn reached the archway. 'Remember how Gwyn was with the ribbon?' Nesta winked and clapped the Shadow Singer on the shoulder. 'You're the new ribbon, Az.' I didn't choose this lifestyle. SJM is making me, she is shoving it down our throat. Also, Amy, you remember how last week you were like, and I get it, we need more from Gwyn to make her a full character rather than a caricature.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things she says and does reminds me of you.
I saw your note and I was like, you're not wrong. She's still not three-dimensional to me.
I agree. I mean, until we're in a character's head, it's hard not to be a little bit of a caricature. I hear that. I just think it's hilarious where there's just this determination.
I know this is wild, and I'm not trying to justify my love for Elreal.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm not trying to negate your comment that I'm like Gwyn, because this is fucking hell like me, 100%. But I think I identify with Elaine not because I'm a middle child, I'm definitely not, but because I understand being put in a box and not being allowed to leave the box.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I think I see in Elaine who I was when I was religious.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm protective of her.
That's beautiful. It's true. I can see that. That's great. Did you just work through that now?
Yeah.
That was really, how does it feel?
Explains why I want Elaine and Az together so badly.
It's funny. I think it also explains why you keep telling yourself, like, she's too good for Az. Like, you're trying to, like, believe it. You know, you're like, no, she must find someone better. Like, therapy's coming into play here.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. I think that that's a really good point, and I think that a lot of people hopefully listen to this, and if they do identify with Elaine, they'll see it. Like, that helps them.
So before we end the chapter, Nesta starts climbing up and down the stairs again to Valaris. Even though she still can't make it to the bottom, she's trying, she's training. And what I love about this, it's set up for when she does reach the bottom again. But, quote, no longer did memories and words send her rushing down it. Now she was driven by pure, unrelenting purpose. And I love that the stairs are now about purpose, because this is now, again, another memory that she's rewriting. She's gotten through Solstice. Now she has to rewrite the memory of going down the stairs, right? That was the day that she hurt Feyre and ultimately hurt herself. And so proving that she can do it when she's not mad, that it's not for the sole purpose of distracting herself from her racing thoughts. Therefore, she'll be able to turn that negative into a positive. And it's rewiring her memories. And I love that.
Yeah. Oh,
take a sip.
This is when this book really starts to hit, man.
Mm-hmm.
My water is still over there.
Moving on to chapter 61 so that Jack can drink some water soon. Unlike the start of the novel, Nesta's life is full and vibrant and not without purpose. And these are some of my favorite chapters, even though it's kind of summary. It's all really beautiful. Quote, they had sliced the Valkyrie ribbon and had passed the Blood Right qualifier, but they would keep training. So much remained to be learned. So much remained that she looked forward to learning with all of them, with her friends, with Cassian. And I just get emotional because she's come so far.
It's funny because, you know, Nesta's so worried about what life is going to be like when she's done. She's worried about going back out to Valaris, and this isn't real life, but this is her real life. Like, that's the funny thing, is that this is like a few months pass, summary months pass, and this is what her life is now. Like, it can be like training and being with her partner and hanging out with her friends and working in the library, and then, you know, doing missions and hanging out with people when she needs to. It would just there's more options of like having dinner with everyone if she wants. And it is a great glimpse of how good life can be for her because it's already there. And I think that part of her own trauma and issues is not realizing that it's there. It's happening.
She has a good thing.
Yeah. And that's not going away. A few months pass and we have the new routine between Nesta and Cassian. Quote, they alternated bedrooms, sleeping wherever was closest to their lovemaking. And it's like, oh, they're finally sleeping with each other at night and they're cuddling and kissing. And we know this means a lot to Nesta because she describes herself as having, quote, music in her heart. And we know how she feels about music. Mm-hmm. And all of this positivity, all of this feeling that she has, that's what gets her going through these stairs once more. That's what has her pushing herself to make the bottom of these stairs.
Yeah. And I have to read the quote, even though it's long, because I just love it so much. Nesta's head burned with purpose, with direction and focus. She woke up each morning glad to be there, to throw herself against the world and see what it did. She had music each night at the evening services where she had learned most of the songs and sang with the priestesses, letting her voice ring out alongside Gwen's. She had music from Cassian's Symphonia, which she played whenever she could. And she had music in her heart, a song made up of Cassian's voice, of Gwen's and Emery's laughter, of her own breathing as she went down and down and down the stairs. This is Nesta alive. This is her in tune with herself and with the world. And if you don't love the beauty or see the beauty in this transformation, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
That makes me really sad for you. Quote, she would not be mastered by anything again. She was the master of herself. And this person she was becoming, emerging into day by day, she might even like her. And that's a message I think everyone has to learn.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't like yourself, if you don't like who you are, what you do, how can you possibly like anyone or anything?
Yeah.
Like, fundamentally, at the end of the day, not liking yourself makes everything harder.
It's so true. This actually reminds me of a song, and the song got me through one of the darkest times of my life after my grandparents died and I was going through a horrible breakup and all sorts of stuff. And this song, even when I hear it, I will still cry to it. Do you know which song it is?
Happiness by Taylor Swift?
No. I mean, that's a great one. I'm saying it got me through the hard times, not it helped cause the hard times. I shall read the lyrics to you because I think it is poignant. Is this how it is? Is this how it's always been? To exist in the face of suffering and death and somehow still keep singing? Like Christ up on a cross who died for us. Who died for what? Don't you want to call it off? But there's nothing else that I know how to do than to open up my arms and give it all to you. Because I hear the music and I feel the beat. And from a moment when I'm dancing, I am free.
I didn't know that about this song.
No, really? Every time it comes up, like I just think about like after my grandma's funeral and we were just...
Yeah, but you didn't tell me about crying.
No, I like sob with it. Like that song got me through that entire time because that just sums it up. Like that's just what it is. Like that's the point of life, is to face suffering and death, and somehow you have to keep singing. And that the answer is yeah. Like life is going to hit. You're going to have such shit time and you gotta fucking still find a way to sing. And I think that's what Nesta is figuring out right now. And that is by Florence and the Machine, if you guys want to hear the song.
And that makes me like really emotional because we went to our concert the day of your grandma's funeral.
No, I know. I was like unwell because of like, and that was, okay, we're going to get emotional. I was unwell. I just remember thinking like, I'll be okay. I was in Florence and the Machine, went through one of the biggest breakups with the guy I thought I was going to marry. My grandma had just died. It was the day of her funeral. My grandpa was weeks out from dying. We knew he was about to die. And I was at this small little concert that we somehow magically managed to get tickets to with my best friend, screaming on the top of our lungs this amazing song. And that's what I always think of. Yeah. I haven't cried on the podcast in a long time.
You
like
haven't.
A week or two. Wow, what a moment. What an episode. Anyway, here's some ads.
When I moved in with my partner is when I realized how much effort she puts into her skincare. She spends so much time and money just on what she puts on her skin. But the one thing she doesn't invest in is our bedding.
Well, that's because you're now investing in it with Boll and Branch.
From their organic cotton sheets to their breathable pillows and comforters, Boll and Branch makes their bedding with ultra clean materials that are gentle on the skin and free from harsh chemicals.
Boll and Branch really feels like my first grown-up sheets, and you can really feel the difference with their signature sheet sets. Remember, these sheets are touching you for up to 8 hours every single night. You're going to want to have the best sheets possible. Have you noticed that the pockets of the fitted sheets are perfect for forming around the mattress?
This is the first set of sheets that I haven't had to help my partner put them on the bed because the pockets are too small. They are so easy to get on the bed.
These are honestly the first pair of sheets that I have that I don't wake up with my sheets halfway wrapped around me. They are durable, they are soft, and the longer you use them, the softer they become.
Upgrade your sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/booktalk with code BOOKTALK, BOOKTALK.
That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/BOOKTALK, and use code BOOKTALK to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply.
This spring, Uber Eats has you covered. Whether you're celebrating mom, dad, or your favorite grad, not all of us are great planners, and with the Uber Eats gift hub, you don't have to be. Send flowers, perfume, champagne, or just their favorite meal straight to their door. Gifts arrive in as little as 25 minutes, and you can add a personalized video message for that additional so-not-last-minute touch. So this spring, get a leg up on gift giving with Uber Eats. Last-minute gifts that land every time. Must be 21 or older to purchase alcohol. Product availability varies per region. See app for details.
I am ready. Let's continue. So at this point, Nesta reaches the bottom of the stairs and she has a choice, even though it's not even a choice. We know what she's going to choose, but ultimately it is a choice to go outside, to go back to old habits, or to go upstairs to the party. Quote, only she found herself looking up towards the house where a starfall party would be held in an hour. The male who would be there, who encouraged her to come. She faced the city, the lovely, vibrant city. None of it seemed as vibrant as what waited above. The climb would be brutal and almost without end, but at the top, Cassian would be waiting as he had waited for her for years. Nesta smiled and began the climb. So the climb, as you know, it's been so beautiful, this entire book of Nesta going down the stairs, because it's literally her going into her depression, facing her depression. You know, each time she got farther, she had to tackle another part of her own descent of her own darkness inside, right? And going up the stairs is like the actual representation of her coming out of darkness and coming out on top. But like, we're going to go into it more in a little bit of how happiness is a choice, and being at the bottom of these stairs, what was once her cage, what was once her trap, is saying, all right, if you want to go party, you go down those stairs. And now she's there and she gets to make a choice, and she gladly goes up the 10,000 stairs to meet Cassian. I'm already crying. Let's just keep crying. So
why not?
Apparently I cried when I wrote this. So let's see if I cried when I read this. So she gets to the top of the stairs and she goes to the party with the inner circle, and you know, Cassian is like out dancing and, you know, hanging out with more. And Nesta just takes this moment where she looks outside into the stars and, quote, she didn't know why she cried then, but the tears began rolling down her face. The world was beautiful and she was so grateful to be in it, to be alive, to be here, to see this. And it's just so nice to like come out on top, like to know that life is worth fighting for. And especially after watching SJM's interview, and this is a lot of like implied, she said this with so many words, and I don't want to be putting words in her mouth, but it was heavily implied that SJM did not want to keep living, and we don't want to assume and make jumps or conclusions of what actions were or were not taken during that time, but to be able to come out and just say like, this is worth living for. Like, I get to be alive and be here. I can really feel SJM's emotions in this scene and that pure, honest feeling in this. So then Amren comes over and she apologizes to Amren, and she gets down on a knee to apologize to Amren. And Nesta does need to apologize to Amren. I'm still a little bitter. I think Amren needs to at least recognize her part in Nesta's issues and stuff. But do you have any feelings about the apology to Amren?
I think it's very gracious on Nesta's part. I think what matters most, it's not about should Nesta have apologized as much as she apologized for.
Yeah.
I think it's the sincerity with which Nesta apologized and values Amren's friendship, even if Amren doesn't deserve that, in our opinion.
Yeah.
I think that vulnerability for someone like Nesta is so rare, right?
Yeah.
And I think her ability to be earnest and genuine is a treasure in and of itself, that it just speaks to how moved she is right now and how grateful she is to exist, that I don't think about it in the sense of, does Amren deserve it? I think of it in the sense of, like, what does it show about Nesta's growth?
I like that more.
While Amren and Nesta are talking, this is the first time we truly learn that the house has come alive thanks to Nesta specifically. Amren tells her that the house now sings, which it didn't before, and I love that because life is like a song in Nesta's heart, because they are one and the same. However, Nesta does not believe Amren at first, because Nesta is convinced her power can only do bad things or create bad things. Quote, the house is good, Nesta breathed. Is it? Nesta considered. The darkness in the pit of the library. It's the heart of the house. It hasn't made an appearance in weeks, but it's still there. I think it's just being managed. Maybe the house's knowledge that I'm aware of it and didn't judge it makes it easier to keep in check. Which, again, as always with the house, is metaphor for Nesta herself and her own darkness. Because she has Cassian and because she has Gwen and Emery who have accepted her, she can manage the darkness in herself. And that is beautiful.
It is. And Amren, despite my issues with her, she is wise. She tells Nesta, quote, the struggle with that darkness is worth it just to see such things. And she's talking about the beautiful city, the beautiful life, the dancing and everything. And this is actually a lesson I learned from Sailor Moon. Very young, back in the day. Because there's an episode where Sailor Moon is like, of course there's dark times. I cherish those dark times because you would never know that you even have light if you didn't have dark. And it just makes the good times shine brighter. And I was like, wow, Sailor Moon, you're right. I held on to that. And then finally, Amren tells Nesta, quote, welcome back to the Night Court, Nesta Archeron. And the use of her full name makes it feel real. It makes it feel official. And like I said earlier, Nesta's back in the court before Elaine even got in the court the first time, to be honest. Elaine didn't have official title the first book.
Very true. Moving into chapter 62, the sun and dawn makes another appearance. It continues to be a motif in Nesta's life. Quote, spring dawned on Valoris. Nesta welcomed the sun into her bones, her heart, letting it warm her. And it's just, again, a nice little marker, a nice little bit of symbolism that Nesta's faced her truth, her bad decisions. She's apologized to Amren, and she's made it out on the other side.
So Nesta reflects on what it will do to her if or when she ever sees her friends die or kill. And she goes, well, I mean, that must be what the blood right is for the Illyrians. Quote, it was a final test, she supposed, one they might not ever be taking. SJM loving setup. She is the queen of setup. So they go and meet Eris, and that's Cassian and Nesta. And as they are meeting Eris, Cassian has finally mastered that cool courtier voice. Quote, Nesta tried not to gape at the cool, amused voice that had come out of Cassian. Courtier's voice, as if he'd been listening to her and Rhysand and had perfectly replicated that combination of boredom and cruelty. Nesta couldn't help the little thrill that shot down her spine. She wanted him to use that voice in the bedroom, wanted him to whisper like that in her ear while he... Okay, so she likes this part of him, but there's a couple things. One, I like that it shows that he too has also grown and that both of them have been trying very hard to emulate one another, right? Nesta wants to be like Cassian. Cassian wants to be like Nesta. It also means Cassian's a little bit like Rhys. And she's like, ooh, I'm into it. And it's like, well, you just said that he kind of imitated Rhys and you're... Yeah. What is that? I mean, if I would be such a bad friend to Nesta because I would have pointed that out and she'd be like, fuck you. And it's like, I'm sorry, you said it.
You said it. But also she likes role playing in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Eris asks about the proposal. He's like, hey, did you get it? And Nesta says, no, thank you. I will not be marrying you. But she says it in the mean way. Like, her and Cassian are a little mean to Eris. And I do feel bad for him because he does say his offer is sincere. And I'm just a sucker. He was also a dick about this whole thing, too. So at first I was like, oh, I feel bad for him. And then I was like, well, but he also was trying to propose to her in a way that, like, and he doesn't know her. It's all the male gaze. Yeah, and political. So I was trying to remind myself to not feel bad for a man. Anyway, so Cassian and Nesta fly around and eventually they get back to Valoris and they're just kind of talking and chatting, holding hands. They kiss and Nesta has a valid question. Quote, does it undermine my image as a warrior to be with you? No. Does it undermine Farah's when she's with Rhys? It is a valid question. I mean, people question women's authority, their power, how they got to power when they're successful in general. Like, I mean, some of the horrible things that have been said about Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton when they both ran for president, like it is absolutely disgusting the way that they say they only got to the positions because of the men they were with. Now, back to the book, though, it is an interesting way to start the mate conversation. And I do feel like Nesta initiated it, or not initiated, but she kind of like poked it, and whether she's aware of it or not.
So I want to get into that because before she asks that question, there's a lot of clues leading up to the moment in the writing that show how uncomfortable Nesta is in this environment. And I genuinely wonder if, A, this conversation would have even happened, or if it would have gone differently if they'd gone straight to the House of Wind rather than landing in the actual city of Valoris. And I say that because when they first land, Nesta thinks, after so long in the empty skies, the people all around them seemed to press in. Sounds like the start of a little bit of claustrophobia, a little bit or agoraphobia, and maybe a little bit of a panic attack. Then Cassian starts to lay on the PDA, getting all handsy and kissy and feel my length. And Nesta, quote, laughed and pulled away, aiming for the edge of the bridge. People are watching.
Did he say feel my length?
No, I'm joking.
Okay. Feel my length, bitch.
Then she asks the question about her image, which I think signals how self-conscious she is, right? Because why else would she ask that if she were not thinking, like, I'm with you, what are people thinking? Because Nesta's like, that's different. And he's like, no, it's not. We're also mates. And when she responds, her, quote, voice was thick as she tried to keep the people who strode past from overhearing. Nesta is a private person, and Cassian knows that. And she has been removed from the world for 6-ish months, at least. I have to imagine that being where they are in Valoris, this is maybe her first time walking around in Valoris in 6 months. That's probably overwhelming. He, however, is happy and content. He wants to show off his woman. And that misalignment is what's provoking Nesta.
Yeah. It is funny because I don't think they would have ever had this conversation. As long as Nesta could have avoided it, it would have been avoided. And I think that like the uncomfiness kind of allows for the conversation to happen.
Absolutely.
And it's a great reality check for her to be like, oh my God. And we know she's scared of the outside world. Mm-hmm. And Cassian, it's great because he's not perfect. And this is one of those moments where like he responded in a very Cassian way, mainly because like he's hurt and like he's worried that she's pulling away the way that he's always worried that she would. So anyway, coming back to the whole scene, they get back into the city, the place that she's already described internally as scary. And she's already said that she's not sure if she can handle the real world. So when Cassian asks why she's freaking out, she thinks, quote, having him kiss her and realizing that soon she would have to return to this world humming around them and leave the house. And she didn't know what she would do then, what it would mean for them if she would plunge back into that dark place she'd occupied before. I mean, it's all valid, right? Like she's worried that she's going to relapse in many ways, right? She doesn't recognize all the times she's already been tested. She doesn't recognize the times that she's already proven herself without even knowing that she's proven to herself that like she is strong and will not relapse. Cassian, understandably though, forgets who he's talking to in Nesta and the fact that like this isn't the girl that you push, and he pushes her. Quote, his face shuddered with rage, even as his voice became calm. Say it. She couldn't. Not before he ordered her to, and certainly not now. She wouldn't let him win like that. It's like you forgot who your person was, Cassian.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this is just stubbornness, partly. I think it's stubborn. It's honestly the kind of stubbornness that I could get down with of like, you don't fucking tell me what to say and what not to say. It is very in character. But historically, there's been a lot of back and forth with the fact that like they're going to win. It's funny. Like for me, it's not a winning thing. It's like a stubborn, like, no, you will not tell me what to do. But for Nesta, it is a winning type of concept.
Right. Because they do it when they have sex, when they're most emotionally / physically intimate. And during that time, it's playful. It's not playful right now when we have to talk about our emotions instead of just fuck it out. Okay. This has always been their dynamic. It's not ironic or it's not coincidental that this is all happening at night as the sun is setting, the sky is darkening. Nesta doesn't want to face her truth, doesn't want to face reality. And so there's no sun, which I thought was important for this moment. But what I like most about this is they're not Feyre and Rhys. They can say stupid shit to each other. They can fight like real people and it not be pretty. And for them to part in anger, which I don't think Feyre and Rhys ever really do.
No, people fight differently. Now, let's get into why Nesta is struggling with the word mate. Quote, because with that one word, the last scrap of my humanity goes away. With that one stupid word, I am no longer human in any way. I am one of you. He blinked. I thought you wanted to be one of us. I don't know what I want. I didn't have a choice. Well, I didn't have a choice in being shackled to you either. Oh, that's not how you do this. It hurts, but let's break this down into a couple parts. So the first part being the definition of human and humanity. Nesta is worried about no longer being human. Is she worried about losing her humanity? Because those are two different things. I don't feel like Nesta thinks that she's surrounded by people who don't have humanity. She sees a lot of very compassionate people, but it's this idea of not being human. But ultimately, I think being human represents a choice. It represents something that she was and did not get a choice in not being. And I think it's also the idea of being able to claim that identity and losing that identity. None of this was her choice. Even though it's the best possible outcome, even though it's works out for her, what she's meant to do and be, and she is probably the best version of herself as a Fae, it still comes down to choice.
Right. She didn't have a choice to be made Fae. She is choosing to hold on to her humanity, as she calls it.
And Cassian says some stupid shit. He says that he's shackled with her, which only then confirms her own fears, but our darling girl has grown. Quote, words beckoned, sharp as knives, begging for her to grab one and plunge it into his chest, make him hurt as much as that one word hurt her, make him bleed. But if she did that, if she ripped into him, she wouldn't let herself do it. She's so worried about relapsing when she is actively proving that she does not need to worry about it. She knows herself. She knows what she's doing and she can master that. And Nesta sends him away using the bargain. It's funny because Nesta has issues with it and she's like, I will apologize. And I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it was used appropriately.
You set a boundary?
Uh-huh.
You needed him to leave. He wasn't going to leave.
He wasn't going to listen or leave. That's the other thing is people don't realize sometimes if someone says, I need a minute, you've got to give that person a minute. And I genuinely don't think Cassian would have given that to her.
No, I don't think so either.
Nesta sends him away and she goes to Emery's place because Moore grabs her, drops her off, no questions asked. Moore's turning into a girl's girl.
And the quote's worth reading. Quote, Moore had winnowed her here without a question, without so much as a glance of disapproval. Nesta had been beyond caring about it, though. Was only grateful the female had appeared, likely sent by Cassian. She didn't care about that either. She does care. She's so unreliable. She's grateful that Moore's there, that Moore did this. Nesta doesn't look through her lens of assumption, assuming Moore
is judging her. You already screwed up your relationship with Cassian.
That's growth.
Oh, so much growth. And then later on in the next chapter, Cassian says and then Moore gave me a dirty look. After an hour or so, Gwen shows up for the first time. She has left the library and we are all shocked by it. But Gwen says, quote, some things are more important than fear. She cleared her throat. But please don't remind me too much. I'm so nervous I really might vomit. It's funny. And I agree, she's caricature, but she's already so developed that I really hope we get into her head because she's just going to be so much more.
Yeah, I would like to see more from her point of view. I also want to see more from Elaine's point of view.
I agree. These are going to be two women that I'm going to very much respect. And people are going to be like, Jack, you give Elaine so much shit. I am multifaceted. Yes, but I am very excited to see Elaine grow.
Yeah. And I hope Elaine becomes friends with other women.
Agreed. She needs to have her own found family. And I hope people don't give SJM shit for it's another found family. Each sister gets their own found family. And it's yes. Do you think siblings should only have each other?
I certainly don't.
They should have friends.
I mean, Elaine does have Nuala and Caradwyn, but she could use more than that.
Yeah. But aren't they also servants?
Kind of.
There's a power dynamic there.
Moving on. I love how, on her own, with a little bit of distance, because she got the boundaries she needed, Nesta's able to think clearly without falling into despair. And she doesn't allow her discomfort, her sadness, her rage to prolong itself, which again is another huge sign of strength and growth on her part. Because she could just be pissed for a week until she talks to Cassian again. But instead, in a couple of hours, she thinks, quote, she'd explain everything. Why she balked, why it frightened her, this next step into the unknown, the life beyond it. She'd apologize for using their bargain to send him away and not stop apologizing until he smiled again. Perhaps the future did not need to be so planned. She could just take it one day at a time. As long as she had Cassian at her side, her friends with her, she could do it. face it, they wouldn't let her fall back into that pit. Cassian would never let her fall again. But if she did fall, he'd be waiting for her at the top again, hand outstretched. She didn't deserve it, but she'd endeavor to be worthy of him.
Oh.
And that's one thing that, like, I've learned from my relationship. And I think I've learned from watching other people's relationships. There's a lot of things you have to do for yourself to be ready for a relationship. But there are also some things you have to do for you and your partner so that that relationship can endure. And that feels like what's happening now for Nesta, of like, you don't just have to do this for yourself. You have to do this for Cassian too.
Yeah. I mean, if you want anything to work, you have to do things for the other person too. Now we are in chapter 63. God bless, it's so short. And Cassian goes the next day to find Nesta. And it's actually kind of cute because he's like flying and he's like pumping his wings. He's like, I'm going to fucking find her. And he's like, and then I'm going to teach her how to make a better bargain because
I could maneuver around that so easily.
Yeah, like he's like, I'm going to just piss her off. He thinks, quote, he'd start off round 2 by getting her to say one word to him so he'd be free to speak the rest. The apology, the declaration he still needed to make, all of it. So he knows he needs to tell her he loves her. It's a good moment that both of them need to apologize. I find them both to be equally wrong. However, I'm going to give a little bit more shit to Cassian on this one. I'm in I think, a little bit more Team Nesta on this one. It is really funny. Like, I just imagine him like pumping his little wings. Like, I'm going to find her and I'm going to get into round 2 with her. And meanwhile, she's like all zen. She's like, I'm ready to forgive. And he's like,
yeah.
Like, I'm just imagining like what he thought was going to accomplish, where he's going to be like,
he was in the shower washing his hair, talking to his shampoo bottles. This is what I'm going to say to her, guys.
Okay, look, sometimes when you practice,
I get
having
it.
Conversations,
I do it too.
And it doesn't come out the way that you want it to. Sometimes with guys at the gym.
So we didn't acknowledge at the end of chapter 62 that Nesta and her friends get captured.
Yeah, that happens.
That does happen. Cassian goes to Reese. Reese winnows Cassian to Windhaven so he can talk to Nesta. And then they discover that Nesta and her friends are gone because they've been taken by the Illyrians. In Nesta's bedroom, Cassian smells, quote, the acrid scent of the sleeping ointment, enough to knock out a horse lingered. I just want to point out, yes, I did math. These men are so afraid of Nesta that they used probably 8 times the amount of ointment needed to knock her out. And that's because I'm assuming Nesta's at least, with her muscle, maybe 150 pounds. The average horse is 900 to 1,200 pounds, which is between 6 and 8 times of her weight. That's a lot. That's how afraid they are of her. Unnecessary.
I think the Plan B birth control is, I think, like 165 pounds is that you need to be in order for it to still work. I am not crazy far from having Plan B work. The time that I wouldn't be using it in my life.
Yeah. But it's a nice thought.
It worked the past times. Not that I've tried. I mean, I have. Like, there's no shame. There's no shame in it. Women are allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. Anyway, I have a question for you, Amy.
Yes.
Is accepting their love, Nesta and Cassian, in case anyone doesn't know who we're talking about, their love and their mating bond an act of courage or the loss of control for Cassian and Nesta?
So I hate that I wrote this question.
Yeah,
because I forgot that I had to answer it. I'm going to take it from Nesta's point of view first. I think it truly is loss of control, not in a bad way, but in the sense that there's only so much she's okay with seeing how it plays out. And her relationship with Cassian is not one of those things that she just wants to see how it plays out. Because I think deep down what she's not saying is she wants it to work. And admitting the mate thing and taking that next step, she calls it into the unknown. She doesn't want to risk the good thing that they currently have by putting labels on it. And I think that's totally realistic for lots of people who are afraid of commitment. And Nesta's never had a good relationship work out.
I know.
She's never had a good relationship. So it's not unrealistic for her to view this with a lot of fear. And even if she's courageous enough to take the step to apologize to Cassian and to explain herself, to ultimately give in is to accept the loss of control. And it doesn't matter what Cassian says, that's still scary for her.
Yeah. I see like a cool balance between them that's happening. Up until this point, Cassian had more control than courage. He had control on not pushing himself, on not telling Nesta everything, but he also didn't have courage to do that, right? And in this scene, he's lost control and suddenly he gets the courage to say, we're fucking mates. Versus Nesta, who had all of the control and none of the courage. And in this scene, she loses the control, but she also gains courage in this by taking care of herself, by not saying the cruel words. Like, that is courageous for her to be able to say, like, I need a break, I need a minute. And then for her coming to that courageous moment on her own. It's really a role reversal of who has the courage and who has the control.
Yeah.
And I think it shows both their best and worst moments, but their worst moments shows their best moments. Like, it shows how much they've grown. Because even though Cassian lost control, he finally has the courage to say the thing that he has been too scared to say to Nesta. Not the I love you part, but the we're mates part, right? And that's something that he's been afraid of this entire time, of being rejected, right? He's finally kind of tackling that. And the same thing for Nesta. Like, she's lost control and that's something that she's been afraid of, but here she is gaining the courage through that. So I think it is a cool balance between the two of what they lose and what they gain.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really, really great point. In some ways, what's also at play is this idea of knowledge is power, and they're choosing, at least Nesta's choosing ignorance.
Yeah.
As much as she can, she wants Cassian to think she's ignorant of what's happening because she doesn't want to give him power over her. It's essentially what she said on Solstice. Like, you have so much power over me, I don't understand it. She doesn't want to yield that last thing, that last bit of power to him, because she doesn't understand that she might actually find power in herself by doing so.
Yep. It's a great episode.
It's a great set of chapters.
Mainly because of us and the chapters. It's funny because I feel like towards the end of books, like SJM, we kind of are like the last several chapters. They're always like, we go through them fast.
Yeah.
Like the last 3 episodes of every SJM book has been, we'll go through it quickly. And it's true because it's just like a lot of like, and then the plot happens, right?
Yeah.
And in theory, next week, that's what happens. God willing, it's quick because it's just a lot of...
There's a lot of emotional stuff coming up.
Yeah. But I mean, it's funny because like we said from the very beginning that this book is not about plot. The plot is their emotional growth. So of course we're going to be documenting every single thing. SJM, you wrecked me. No, let's sign off so that I can finally drink water and we can go get sushi and you can tell me your thoughts about me attempting to speak to Jim Crushman.
Okay. Thanks for listening to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. Join us tomorrow for our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks discussion from today's chapters of Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Silver Flames.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or in a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. And don't forget to join us as we keep the analysis going by subscribing to our Substack to get more insights into the romantasy and romance genres. Head to the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com. Bye.
Amy, we were just in New York for BookCon, and did you notice that all of the New York girlies were wearing quints?
You're so right. They were stylish, street appropriate, but also business casual.
It's amazing how I was spotting some of Quince's staple pieces on the street. I can always spot one of their Mongolian cashmeres from a mile away because it's always so soft and so nice. Quince really spends time on making sure they give you the best quality clothing they can with premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra soft denim.
Their styles make getting dressed simpler. They make me feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together with tops that start at just $30. You can't beat that for work.
Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup.
Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/booktalk. Struggling to find the right metabolic wellness support, even when you're doing everything right, has been one of the most frustrating things for me in my health journey.
I've tried other metabolic wellness support providers, and I often feel rejected rather than supported by the process.
That's because Brello is focused on long-term health, longevity, and performance, not quick fixes.
Brello is designed for people who want a more sustainable approach to their metabolic wellness support. Their support helps you focus on habits, education, and structure alongside provider oversight.
Getting my GLP-1 through Brello has been so easy. They make it so effortless, and they provide all the support I need through their app.
Their app is one of a kind in my book because it allows you to track progress, manage reminders, and stay on top of renewals. And if you're like me, managing the renewals is the hardest part.
Everything is managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and medications are delivered to your door. They're so transparent with their pricing, with one flat monthly cost. Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
Any information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. All patients must consult with a healthcare provider prior to the prescription or dispensing of any medication, which will be done only pursuant to a valid prescription. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved, and the FDA does not evaluate their safety, effectiveness, or quality. Patients are encouraged to discuss the risks, benefits, and appropriateness of any medications, including compounded products, with their healthcare provider before use. When I moved in with my partner is when I realized how much effort she puts into her skincare. She spends so much time and money just on what she puts on her skin. But the one thing she doesn't invest in is our bedding.
Well, that's because you're now investing in it with Boll and Branch.
From their organic cotton sheets to their breathable pillows and comforters, Boll and Branch makes their bedding with ultra clean materials that are gentle on the skin and free from harsh chemicals.
Boll and Branch really feels like my first grown-up sheets. And you can really feel the difference with their signature sheet sets. Remember, these sheets are touching you for up to 8 hours every single night. You're going to want to have the best sheets possible. Have you noticed that the pockets of the fitted sheets are perfect for forming around the mattress?
This is the first set of sheets that I haven't had to help my partner put them on the bed because the pockets are too small. They are so easy to get on the bed.
These are honestly the first pair of sheets that I have that I don't wake up with my sheets halfway wrapped around me. They are durable, they are soft, and the longer you use them, the softer they become.
Upgrade your sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/booktalk with code BOOKTALK, BOOKTALK.
That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/BOOKTALK, and use code BOOKTALK to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply.